Hi, this is Brian from Enlightenspeed, and this is the latest bite-sized video tutorial for Agnostic. And today we are covering the theory that underpins the concept of harmonic intervals. As you will see, this is much simpler than it sounds, and it will start to give you a stronger understanding of music theory in general. If you already have a strong grasp of music theory, then don't worry, you can safely ignore this. But anyway, here we go. Easiest way to show how this works is to go into the browser for Agnostic, and we go to the classic 135's maps. It should default to there, and we select the C major scale. So, in Agnostic, chords are stored up in the black keys of the MIDI keyboard. If you press a few keys, then you'll see on the keyboard output display at the bottom of the device that the notes of the stored chord are displayed when you press a key. And if we scroll through the bank, then we can see that the locations of each of the 135 chords, the root note tells you which note the chord starts on. So if you're looking for C60, then we just scroll until you find C60. Obviously you're watching the root note screen when you're doing that. And in this particular case, the 135 chord beginning with C3, note number 60, stored in D flat 2. So if we play a few chords in these banks near about, we can see that all of those are showing up on the white keys. This is because it's in the C major scale, which is basically just all the white keys starting from C. And if we look at each chord individually, then we can also see quite clearly that if we count the root note as the first note of the chord, in that case it's C, then to make up the rest of the chord we add the third and fifth members of the scale from that starting position. So in this case our C major 135 chord is made up of C, E and G. Our D135 chord is made up of D, F and A. And finally our E135 chord is made up of E, G and B. So hopefully that all makes sense, but all you need to remember there is that when you see the harmonic interval structure, say for 1, 2, 5, 10, that interval translates to the first, the second, the fifth and the 10th members of the currently active scale. Now that would be quite a strange chord set to start off on. We've started off with the 135, but why 135? 135 is what is responsible for the standard 3-note chords that are usually seen as the most important chords in the scale, or the most common. In the C major scale, these chords are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, the slightly odd one at the end. Now, if you've done any music lessons before, you might remember that particular sequence. But there's an easy way to figure out the important chords of each scale. Now you might be wondering why there are different chord names. The answer is quite easy to illustrate now that we understand the intervals a bit. However, it's worked out in a different relationship. If we take the 3 chord names which are members of the C major scale, these are, we've got major, minor and diminished. If we look at those patterns of where these are on the chromatic scale, chromatic in this case of course having every note, well, this relationship becomes a wee bit clearer. All the major chords are the same relationship from the starting point, and all the minor chords are the same relationship from the starting point and the diminished. So for example, the C major chord, and indeed all major chords, as on notes 0, 4 and 7. With this notation style, you'll notice that the first note is referred to as 0 rather than 1. Let's just count that up. This is our 135 here in C major. So if we start this as 0, then you're 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 4, 7. But if you do 0, 4 and 7 from any key, then you get the major chord of that note. And if we look at the next chord after that, well, you've got the D minor chord. All minor chords are on the notes 0, 3 and 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 3 and 7 this time. And all minor chords hold that relationship. And lastly, you get the B diminished chord. The relationship that has, just because of where it is on the keyboard, is 0, 3 and 6. So you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 3, 6. And what you find there is that every named chord, so we go into our piano bank and we just pick out any of them, say tonic counter parallel, which is a rather strange one. And we can see that that comes in as 0, 5 and 8. So again, anywhere, every single one of those types of presets will hold the same relationship. But the intervals will hold a different relationship. They'll hold them as members of the scale rather than as members of the chromatic. Anyway, that's all for today. We hope that you found this video interesting and illuminating. And remember, if you're not good with the more mathematical elements of music, then don't worry about it, because it is really more about being able to feel the music. That's still a far more important aspect of it. And of course, Agnostic was designed so that people could have access to the interesting elements of music theory without necessarily having to understand them all. All you need to do is to find the sounds that work for you and work for your composition. Anyway, we shall be back again soon with maybe another 2 more videos covering the remainder of the functionality in the first release version of Agnostic. Specifically, we still need to talk about velocities, the bounce to MIDI section, all the functions menu stuff, and the preferences area. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we will see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.